right, we are good to go, everybody. Welcome to the final day at the Spring Expo, the Spring Toronto Expo 2026. My name's Jeremy Lee. I'm the host of Sports Cards Live. We are a podcast and a YouTube channel. Check it out if you'd like. But more exciting and more importantly, I'm joined here on the stage by none other than Kirk McLean, formerly of the Vancouver, still with the Vancouver Canucks, but a former player with the Vancouver Canucks and the New York Rangers, and a couple in between. Kirk, welcome to the Expo.
Well, thanks for having me. I love when I get the chance to come out here. It's probably every 3 or 4 years that they seem to do a big goalie show, and I get the tap on the shoulder, so it's very nice. I'm from Toronto, so it's nice to get back and visit.
And what is it like when you do get out amongst the fans and you're going to be sitting at the table a little bit later, signing autographs for people? They're waiting in line right now. Do you enjoy when they come up and want a photo op and a picture and maybe a short conversation?
How can you not? You know, listen, I totally understand it and appreciate it. The fact that they're still willing to come up and talk and ask for an autograph, that explains it all. And I'm definitely willing to sit back for a few minutes and ask any questions or tell any stories.
And right now, we are the beginning of May. The playoffs are in full force. We're just, interestingly, we're starting the second round and wrapping up round one here right away. As a former player, how do you take in the Stanley Cup playoffs?
It's a good question. I try to watch as little as I can, to be honest with you. There's certain, you know, my team's obviously not in it, didn't make it this year, but you know, if anything, I'll follow other teams more because of ex-teammates' kids are playing now. So I want to see what they have to do and become acquaintances or friends with maybe other executives on other teams or ownerships of other teams. So kind of curious to see what they're going to be doing, and it's exciting. I mean, it's showing right now in the first round the amount of 7-game series and close series that they are. So I do like to do that. We've lost a couple of good teams. It's the way the format is now. But you know, I hope they go back to like 1 versus 8 in the conference.
Yeah, so do I. Actually, we had that same comment from Cujo earlier today. When you come to these things, do you actually see any of the other players that are here? Have you seen any of your ex?
I was just talking to Jocelyn on his way out. I usually run into Felix, or I know Felix is here as well with Cujo, but I know they have a few other things to do. But when we're in the back doing our signings, we're usually catching up as much as we can, and it's even, you know, nice for us, some of the older alumni that come into town that we would never get a chance to say hello to, wherever it may be. So it's nice catching up and talking with them as well.
Absolutely. So I want to ask you a little bit more about your playing days, and something I ask all goaltenders when I sit and talk with them. Were there any players that you played against that maybe, you know, had your number, or were there any players that you were known as very good goal scorers that you had their number?
I would like to think I had most of the guys' number, but they probably had my number more than anything. But you know, back in the early days when we were playing divisional games, you're playing each team 8 to 12 times a year. Like LA, they, you know, Luc Robitaille and Bernie Nichols and players like that certainly had my number. They were, you know, amazing talent with their hands and were able to knock things out of the air. And then, of course, you know, Gretz and him being in at the early years in Edmonton, that whole team had my number, and then he moves into LA. But it's what it is, right? I mean, at the end of the day, look, Gretz scored the 802 goal on me, but I always remind him we won the game. He was a little selfish when we had to stop the game so Gordy could come out and they do the big presentation. We go on to win the game, but that same game, Pavel Bure scored his 50th goal, and nobody talks about that in the history book. So
That's an interesting tidbit that doesn't really get talked about a lot.
Well, nor should. I mean, you know, it was obviously an amazing feat by what Wayne did, and now it's been broken by Ovechkin. So, you know, everybody said Wayne's would never be broken, so we'll see what happens with now he's just breaking his own records as he continues to play.
Every goal.
Yeah.
What is it like for a guy like you who's been out for a little bit now? As far as
a little bit.
Hey, I'm trying to, you know, as far as passing the torch goes, we're you know, yeah, you've been out of the game for a while, but I feel like, we just saw Kopitar retire,
Right.
and you watched him on that final, the goodbyes to the crowd and talking to his teammates and the other team. You get a bit emotional as an era passes, and Crosby and Ovechkin are in their twilight years, and we're going to see it turn over to Bedard and Celebrini and everybody else.
Yeah, very, very. You're right. Very tough. I mean, these guys, it's way better shape than we were, and if they continue to stay that way and look after their bodies the way sports medicine and nutrition and all that kind of stuff has really taken over with the modern day athlete. Keep playing until they kick you out, or unless your body tells you have to stop. And what's Kopitar, 20 years in the league or so? Yeah. So that's a lot of hockey, and he's three Stanley Cups, three Stanley Cups, I think it is. So same with Sid. I mean, playing for their countries whenever they could, and just long playoff runs. It takes its toll, no matter how you try or how much you try to keep yourself in really good shape and take care of yourself. That's a lot of hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting here. These guys are collected; their cards are out there, and even Pavel Bure, the story you told about the 50 goals, it's a big deal. People love those sorts of stats, and it adds to the resume of the players.
This year we see there's a Caulfield for Montreal. I didn't realize he's only the 6th player in history for Montreal Canadiens to score 50 goals. That's unbelievable. And the last guy to do it was Richer. He did it 2 years in a row in the early 90s.
89.
Yeah, 89, 90. So. That kind of blew me away, and then just realizing that he probably won't have to buy a meal or pay for a drink for the rest of his life in Montreal. That's for sure.
I heard somebody refer to Caulfield's 50 goals as the quietest 50
Absolutely.
they've seen.
Yeah, 100%. So now I start to tune in to watch what he's all about. I don't think he's had the greatest playoffs. I think he just got his first goal not a couple games ago. But that's experience, right? I mean, he hasn't had any opportunity to do that. So now they're getting into that playoff mode, and he'll figure it out. They'll figure what it takes to move on.
Is it that much tougher to score 50 or just to score goals in general in these 2020s?
Well, they say it is because the goalies are bigger and better, so they say the equipment, all that kind of jazz. The pace of the game is much faster, so the defenders get into the laneways quicker. But there's also 15 power play chances, a game. So you see a lot of the star players, what team they're getting a lot of their points now on the power play. And when you get into the playoffs, we all know that the referees somewhat put the whistle away. So you need that 5-on-5 pressure, and you need goals at 5-on-5, not just wait for that power play opportunity.
Yeah. So you had an 11-year career with the Vancouver Canucks, a great career, Stanley Cup final appearance in 1994. I remember it very, very clearly. And you ended your career with the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind when you walk into that room for the first time after that's who beat you in the finals in '94?
Yeah, well, it was 94, and then I went 2000, so I got there. So it was a little bit later. But I was excited. It was strange. I'm not going to lie to you, but Brian Leetch and Mike Richter, Adam Graves were still there, who are wonderful people, let alone great hockey players. And then Mark came back. Actually, I was with Mark in Vancouver for just I don't know, about 6 months or 7 months before I got traded. And then he came back my last year of playing. So it was interesting. It was interesting. I love the city. I know Wayne always said that if every player could play at least 1 year in New York, they should, and he's 100% right, because it's a wonderful city, great sports town. There's not as much pressure as everybody thinks because it's the Big Apple, because there's so many other sports teams there that are taking front page of the newspaper, depending on what time of year it is. Nothing compares to the Canadian markets as far as pressure, especially Toronto, Montreal, even Vancouver. Vancouver's really picked it up. So, but I loved it, and I enjoy going back there when I do. It's just a wonderful place.
Now, you're originally from this area, not far from where we're sitting right now. Where do the Toronto Maple Leafs fall for you as far as what, I mean, you're an ambassador for the Vancouver Canucks. Where do the Leafs fall for you emotionally?
There's still a piece of Toronto in my heart. I grew up a Leaf fan. Davey Keon, Daryl Sittler, Jacques Plante, Bernie Parent. Doug Favell, Mike Palmatieri can go down. So I want the team to do well. I don't want them to win the cup, obviously, because I want Vancouver to win. And, you know, I think sometimes the team takes a little bit of the backseat because the media attention that happens here in Toronto, like we were talking earlier, they may go on a 2 or 3 game winning streak in November, and they're planning the parade, that type of thing, and they forget that there's a lot of hockey left. But you know, it's definitely tough for, like I said, playing in Toronto and Montreal. You're really in the under the microscope, and of course Toronto is the last original 6 team they haven't won a cup since what, 69 is it? 70, yeah, 67. Yeah. Bill Barocco. There you go.
Yeah, Bill Barocco. Yeah, exactly. Are you a Tragically Hip fan?
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
That was a sad one, Gord Downey.
Yes,
hey?
it was. I was lucky enough to see him twice on that tour. Actually, one here in Toronto and one in Vancouver. So very emotional.
So the Vancouver Canucks team that you're still associated with, and of course had that great career with, they've having some challenges right now.
Yeah.
Quinn Hughes was a great defenseman who was traded to Minnesota. What's going on in Vancouver right now? Any insights you can share?
Not much more than what's going on in here in Toronto. They're in search for a new general manager. As everybody knows, they relieved Patrick Elvine of his duties at the end of the year. They moved Quinn Hughes, but I think they fared pretty well with what they got back. They got some good young players that are going to be a big part of the development and the rebuild of the team. So Quinn, I don't think, was going to stick around after his contract. I think he was not super outspoken, but kind of gave hints on that. And listen, it was a pathetic year, and I think everybody can talk about that. Unfortunately, these things happen, and they blow it completely up. Who knows when the new general manager comes in what he's going to do? So we'll have to sit and wait on that.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Kirk, it's been a pleasure to sit with you up here and have a nice conversation.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Like I said, I always love coming back to Toronto. I still have lots of friends and my family members, and I love coming out and hanging out with the community.
Well, there's a lineup of people waiting to get your autograph and have an interaction with you, so enjoy that, and thank you for doing this.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Kirk McLean, everybody.